What's up and good morning, War Report family. It's your guy, Ike Jones. We are back with another morning drop. Today, we're talking about the pass game. New QB in, new wide receiver in, a couple of more prospects in the wide receiver room. Question is, can Auburn be prolific in the pass game this season? Y'all know how we do right here, War Report style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Yes, indeed. Morning drop. You got Ike Jones. We are in the place to be. That's right here on the War Report, Monday, May the 8th. And we're talking about the pass game right here on the morning drop, sponsored by the Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com is your place. America's #1 online dispensary. Y'all know y'all need to head over to RogueShop.com using code RAPPORT. What am I telling you that for? You already understand what the business is. A good way to start your Monday morning off is right here with the War Report. And we are talking about the pass game. While we're talking about it, go ahead and share the video at the War Report. Make sure people know that you are out here supporting the best Auburn content that exists. I'm not here to argue with you about who's better. We know. Top two and we ain't two. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You could be mad about it. Like the video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man. We're going to get into the conversation talking a little bit about the pass game. But I'm not alone this morning. I'm going to bring in my guy, Mike G, and let's talk about it, man. How we feeling this morning, Mike G?
I feel good. I think. We're talking pass game this morning.
Yeah.
This is going to be a huge area of improvement for Hugh Freeze and company. They've got to find a way to get the pass game going. Ike, it just hasn't been very good or consistent over the last 4 or 5 years. So pushing down the ball down the field through the air is necessary in today's college football.
Yeah.
You can't win if you're one-dimensional.
You mentioned the last 5 years, so let's just talk about the numbers over the last 5 years. I went and I looked them up just so I could be accurate in what we're talking about here. So going back to 2018, realizing that we do have a pandemic-shortened season in there in 2020. Going back to 2018, we've got 2,800, so 2,892 pass yards in 2018, 2,697 in 2019. 2020, again, the pandemic-shortened year, 2,423. But, I mean, we were averaging somewhere around 200 and something yards per game. So even if you get the additional 2 games, you don't get to 3,000 in that season. 21, first year under Coach Harsin, 3,121 yards. Okay. So looking better. But then we dropped down to 2,072 last year in the pass game, which was anemic, right? So we got some work to do in the ability to complete forward passes at a prolific level when it comes to football here at Auburn.
Here's why those numbers are sadder than you think.
No, I know why they're sad, but tell everybody else why they're sadder than we think.
Auburn threw the ball at a historic clip through that stretch.
Correct.
Right?
More than we have in the history of Auburn football.
Yeah, whenever I bring up this name, people get upset. But Bo Nix threw the ball, had more pass attempts than any other quarterback in Auburn history, including a 4-year starter here in Stan White in 3 years throwing the football at Auburn. It was nuts. I mean, he threw the ball a lot. And so to even sniff 3,000 yards, they threw it a lot at what was a below 60% clip for most of it.
Right.
So those numbers are pretty sad, all things considered. Those should have been 35, 36, 3,700 yard seasons.
Right.
Throwing the ball, at a 65 to 67% clip. And Auburn sitting here with an SEC West title or 2.
Correct.
So
I mean, it's anemic numbers, right? Like getting to 3,000 in this era of college football seems like it should be academic. Like, especially again, for what you're saying with the amount that you're throwing the football, right? Like if you were barely throwing the ball, like last year, I understand we didn't throw the ball a lot when it came down to specifically those last 4 games of the season. We almost didn't throw the ball at all. When we did throw the ball, we were throwing with a QB who had an injured shoulder, right? Like it wasn't a the attempts weren't heavy. Like, you saw a significant drop off in the amount of attempts per game for Auburn last season. So you see that why the bottom fell out, and why a lot of Auburn fans were concerned about our ability to throw the ball this season. They're just
Rightfully
like, I don't
so.
know if we can get it done.
Rightfully
Looking at
so.
last year numbers, you have the return of TJ Finley imminent for a bunch of people, which was panic buttons. Or you go back to Robbie Ashford, who, as athletic as he is not a prolific passer. By, again, there's a lot of reasons why that was. Or you go to Holden Geriner, who people have no idea what you have. So people are hitting the panic button on the pass game. Does the addition of Peyton Thorne to this room, who 2-year starter, 3-year player at Michigan State, 3,233 yards in his first year as a full-time starter. Last year, 2,679 yards. Does he add something where now Auburn fans can look and say, we're excited about the potential for the pass game with the addition of that, plus what we hope Coach Hugh Freeze and Montgomery bring in for the new scheme for the passing attack?
No. Not if he does what he did last year.
Correct. I agree with that.
If he does what he did last year, we're where we were in 2021, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you can hate that statement and say I'm a hater and all this stuff, but those are cold hard facts. You just read the numbers.
I mean, the numbers are the numbers, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can't debate what the numbers are.
So no, I'm not excited about that, because that means that, to actually contend, that everything around him has to be a lot better than it was, right, at Michigan State. So, people expecting this kid to come in and be the savior of the passing game, like, I'm just pumping the brakes on that for right now. I think this was the best quarterback available that they felt like they could get, but does he improve the passing game because you got to remember, last year was all-time dysfunction, right? That was an all-time low for Auburn in the passing game.
It was terrible. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man.
I mean,
listen, 2012 might have been worse.
No, I have, I don't know 2012, but I went back and pulled numbers for the last decade. So since 2013, it was the worst since in the last decade.
Yeah.
The only one that was close was 2016 with 2,203 passing yards. So for the last decade, it's the worst.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure 2012 was worse, but that's not, just even comparing it to that year, right? Let's be real. It was bad. The bar was on the floor. So, what people are expecting Peyton Thorne to come in and do, I think if I were a coach, I'd temper my expectations. I don't think this kid is going to turn into Peyton Manning in one season. I don't think that's going to happen, right? So, what you have is you have, a guy who essentially does what we've been talking about, and we're going to keep beating this over everyone's head until the season starts. You have a guy who raises the floor for production. Because the floor definitely can't be 2,000 passing yards.
Yeah, no.
It can't. It can't. At 2,600, you'll win some games, but you're still going to lose some frustrating ones depending on how everything else is going, right? Because it's not all just about one aspect of the game, right? At 3,000 plus yards, you have a chance to beat some people that nobody thought you were going to beat. But that involves going out and throwing the ball for 350, 400 some games when needed. Can your quarterback take over the game, Ike, when it's needed?
Right.
Can he say, you know what? They're stuffing the run. They're doing everything they can to stop us. I'm going to put us on my back. And I'm going to throw for what's needed. I'm going to throw guys open. I'm going to make this happen. Does anyone believe Peyton Thorne is that dude? Because when Michigan State went 11-2, they had a dude named Kenneth Walker. They had a prolific run game. They had a Heisman candidate at running back. Now, I've been clear about the dysfunction that is Michigan State right now and why he probably left and how that's affecting him. However, now that he's at Auburn and things should be seemingly more stable for him, maybe we see a little, maybe they scheme up something a little better for him. I just don't think it's going to be all about him, which is why I'm saying, I keep your eye on all these guys, man. If he doesn't play well, I don't think the coaches will hesitate to go to Robbie Ashford if he wins the job.
So here's my question in regard to that, though. So, is Peyton Thorne that guy to take over a game? The question I have is, are any of the other quarterbacks in that room the guy to take over the game with their arm?
With their arm?
Yes.
Well, we don't know. I think the question is that the sample size for them is much smaller. A lot of times when we're making comparisons, we're comparing apples to oranges, and it's not fair to compare anything Holden Geriner has done, Gerner, or Robbie Ashford's 1 year starting with a hurt arm and a dysfunctional coaching staff, to what this kid did in 2.5 years at Michigan State. Tell me that's fair.
No, it's definitely not a fair basis for comparison.
Fair basis for a comparison, right? Yeah. So, like, it is what it is. Like I said, I mean, I see B Wolf's forehead's comments down here. Like I said, I'm not down on Thorne. I'm just saying, like, I think he does what he raises the floor in your QB room.
Yeah,
he does. It says, okay, now we can reasonably expect about 2,600 yards passing. That gives us a chance. That improves Auburn by 600 yards over last year. If he improves, even better. If somehow Peyton Thorne reaches the next level of his game at Auburn, then he will be the unquestioned starter and leader here.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, and I think it's fair to bring up that his best season was next to a prolific running back. We believe we have that here at Auburn.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
We think that Jarquez Hunter is that caliber of back that can go out there and be Kenneth Walker type of guy. Right. Like, I don't know if he's going to be in in New York at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, but he can definitely be an adequate run support for whatever your pass game is going to be, which allows you to be able to be better with Peyton Thorne and his ability to throw the ball. Because, again, the question for me is really, how well is that quarterback going to be able to throw if you have a prolific running attack? We think the running attack, I don't know, that running attack definitely, no question, better if Robbie Ashford is the quarterback, just because he allows you to have a different element. But can that run game be good without the threat of a running quarterback? Because that's the same question you would have if Holden Geriner was your starter.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, when guys get the key in, right, and they say, you know what happens when defenses say, we're going to make Peyton Thorne beat us?
Mm-hmm.
Can he? Right. And that's that's what keeps balance in your offense. Right. That's what keeps defenses honest. When your quarterback says, all right, you're gonna load the box against the run.
Right.
Here, hold this for me. Right. Then it makes you dangerous. That's what Auburn has been unable to do. We saw it happen the last few years here. People were like, we don't respect your passing game.
Yeah.
8, 9 men, 10 sometimes in the box. Because they don't respect. They're saying the only way you can beat us is with taking Jarquez. So we're going to load the box and we're going to make Bo Nix or TJ Finley or, anybody else who played quarterback, Robbie Ashford, prove that they can beat you.
Right.
That's it. And they give up a big run here or there or a big play here or there because they knew those guys from the tape, those guys weren't able to make those plays consistently enough.
We'll take our chances.
To make them play honest. They knew that. And so, that's where I'm always at with this, right? Can you make defenses play honest from the quarterback position? This is what we're talking about today. Make them play honest from the quarterback position. Make them move those guys out of the box, right? Make them think about every aspect of playing defense against you. You know what? We got to watch the deep ball. We have to watch these short to intermediate throws because he's accurate.
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's the biggest hurdle is the short to intermediate range, because Peyton Thorne can hit the deep shot. He's proved that he can do that. He can push the ball down the field. I think Robbie Ashford throws a really good deep shot. I don't know enough about Holden Geriner's ability at this level to do any of those things, but from all accounts has all of the tools arm-wise to be able to do all of those things. The question is, are you going to be able to make the hot reads? Are you going to be able to throw short to intermediate? And because the remedy for, he throws a really good deep shot is don't give him time to do it. Right. So we're just going to heat him up. We're going to load the box and we'll make sure that we account for the run, but your quarterback's not going to have time to go down the field. Can you make them pay with quick slants? Can you make them play with hot reads? And a lot of that is not just about quarterback accuracy. It's a portion of that, but it's also about making sure that your wide receivers know what they're supposed to be doing. And when you look at some stuff from some of the film in regards to last season, it didn't feel as if we really had a plan for how we were going to attack teams that were just saying, hey, you're not going to throw the ball against us like this. What is your remedy to get the ball out of this guy's hands? We didn't have good remedies for that last season. Hopefully we've gotten better in that aspect with Coach Freeze and company coming in, but we'll see. That's yet to be seen whether or not we're going to do that.
Yet to be seen.
Listen, we're going to get to you guys' comments, but while we're talking, we want to make sure we take a break and talk to you a little bit about Harmon Mechanical. Once again, if you guys didn't know, Harmon Mechanical is servicing the Auburn area. If you're down there close to Auburn and you need to get your HVAC system in order, make sure you hit up the folks at Harmon Mechanical. You can check them out on their website, harmonmechanical.com, or you can set up your first consultation with them at 334-219-0717. Harmon Mechanical does professional work, really great job of giving you options when you need them. Proactive approach to making sure that you have your heating and air taken care of. Those summers here in the state of Alabama are not going to forgive you for not taking care of your HVAC system. So go ahead and make sure that you give them a call. Once again, 334-219-0717. That's Harmon Mechanical, there when you need air. We are here when you need to vent a little bit about what's going on with Auburn Sports. Shout out, by the way, since we're sitting here talking about Auburn Sports, to the Auburn softball team, first and foremost, for going out there and doing their thing, getting the dub in the series this weekend. But Auburn baseball taking down the #1 team in the country in LSU this weekend in the series, doing a great job.
Rule.
Run ruled yesterday, LSU 12-2. And shout out to them for just being gritty, man. Listen, there were people who were ready to write off Butch Thompson at the beginning of this year and talking about, man, it's time for us to go in a different direction. I don't understand these very fair weather type of fans that it's only when it's good is the coach good, and they can't ever drop off at any point in time. Auburn baseball has done a really great job of fighting through some poor play at the beginning of the season and starting to play really well down the stretch here, making a case for why they can be in postseason play this year. Congrats to both Coach Butch Thompson and the folks at Auburn baseball for doing that. Auburn softball has been good this entire season. They've been ranked this year.
But even them, man, projected to finish like 9th, right?
Yeah.
Bree
definitely, they're definitely playing way better than expectations. That's no doubt.
Yeah. Bree Ellis was like, listen, y'all.
She was pulling receipts.
Yeah. She was like, y'all said we were going to finish, and I like that. I like that energy. I'm like, hey, man, keep that energy, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of people that will doubt you out here. And I know we're talking football, but I think it's the same for every sport, right? Like, going into the season, a lot of people just going to be really, Auburn's one of the worst teams in the West. They're probably one of the worst teams in the SEC. And I encourage people to keep that same energy, because this is a new coaching staff, man, and this is the SEC West. There's talent on these teams.
Yeah,
there's talent on these teams, and when you find a coach who can come in and knows how to corral the talent in any sport and get the most out of them, look out. That's all I'm saying. Not a lot of people thought Auburn would get swept by LSU baseball this weekend. It started off with a 3-0 loss, but what I saw in that loss while I was there covering night was I saw a team that really they out-hit LSU.
Yeah,
they just didn't score.
Listen, if they were going up against a guy who's a pro, the pitcher for LSU in that first game is going to be a Major League Baseball.
And they still got more hits on him, though. Yeah. Right? So, and they lost that game 3-0. So it was like some smackdown. Right. The next day, they come back and the bats come alive. LSU's bats come alive. And then they run rule them in game 3. Come on, man. This is a team with talent. This is the SEC. Yeah. Right? This is SEC sports, man. There's talent everywhere. And you just need coaches that know what to do with that talent and know how to navigate the ebbs and flows. So, congratulations to softball. Yeah, like I said, I like that Bree was pulling receipts on people. Hopefully, the football team is doing the same thing in the fall.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get in here to the comment section and see what you guys are talking about. We're going to start off with super chat here from Thomas Lewis, who says, "My daughter graduated from Auburn on Saturday, and her twin sister from UAB the week before, celebrating with the War Report family this AM. War Damn Eagle, Thomas, congratulations to your daughters, twin daughters, graduating. Listen, I don't know if you had any scholarship money that you were getting for relief on all of this tuition
Mm,
money, but God bless you, Thomas. Two kids in college at the same time, both graduating. Got to be a proud dad moment. Very happy for you, and congrats to both of your children for accomplishing that goal. Corey Weber gets the conversation about quarterback in the pass game started off. It says, best guess, what percentage increase in terms of pass attempts per game are you expecting to see versus last season? This is an interesting question.
mm,
Let me go ahead and try to pull up the statistics last year for pass attempts per game. I still have that pulled up over here on my other computer, I believe, with the statistics. So give me just a moment.
percentage increase.
Let's see. So Auburn pass attempts per game. I don't have attempts per game on here. Offensive plays. I've got total attempts on the season, and I could do some math here to get to attempts per game. So we had 308 attempts last season. What's that divided by the 12 games played here? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, we'll get to it.
308 divided by. So we had. Is that right? 308 divided by 12. 25 attempts per game last season. I'd expect 25 attempts, 26 attempts per game. I mean, we're probably going to be in the 30 to 35 range. I don't expect a huge jump in attempts per game this season. If we're throwing the ball upwards into if we're getting back into the 40 attempts per game, we better be completing at a 65 to 70% clip, in my opinion. I just don't know that we need to be in a situation where we're throwing the ball that much when we have a run game that should be as good as this one. So I would expect us to be right in around the 30 to 35. So maybe another 10 attempts per game on average is right where I would expect it to be.
Yeah, I don't know about this question. I don't know. I think a lot of this will depend on what they do well and how well defenses are playing what they're doing. Let's revisit this one. That's
a good question. I like it, Corey. We'll definitely.
Yeah. That might be too thought provoking for a Monday morning. that's a Wednesday night question.
B Will's Forehead 2.0 jumps back. Are there two B Will's Foreheads, or did you have to change your name? Anyway, Thorne should be a good / solid pickup. Got to get the guy with big game experience. You kind of know what you're getting versus what we already have in the QB room. Be surprised to me if he doesn't win the job. So this is an interesting thought right here. And this is a question that I've wanted to ask a lot of Auburn fans. I'll pose this to you, Mike G, and I'll pose this to the P in the comments. Are we so unwilling to go with a guy who we don't have experience that we should, like, in 2 years, are people going to say this about Walker White? Right?
Right.
Because he won't have played any games for Auburn. We won't have known it already. People are leaning so heavily on, he doesn't have any experience, because we could say that about Holden Geriner. Are we just so enamored with experience that we're not willing for a guy to just take his? I just don't understand, what balance do you strike with that? Are we always just going to be going for portal quarterbacks? The question I have for Auburn fans who opt for experience over the unknown talent. Do you have an answer for that, Mike?
Yeah, I posed this question. Well, I bemoaned this attitude about, like, hey, I've been saying you build a program through recruiting, right? And I don't think that people realize the energy that they have for the guys that we have would be the same as just saying this quarterback that we recruited that hasn't played yet, we don't know what he can do, so bring in somebody who's got some mediocre experience, and then that guy is the starter. At some point, you're going to have to go with someone who is technically unproven, but clearly the best, right? And I think maybe where a lot of fans are at is, you're bringing in this guy, but the guys that you do have aren't clearly the best.
Right.
Right. And so, maybe try your hand at this guy. Like, I don't have a problem with it. My only issue will be if there is not a propensity to pivot if it's not working. in this particular situation. But, you hope that Walker White wins the job outright, no question. I mean, I think I read Auburn Daily put out an article with all the projected starters for every team Auburn plays this fall. And I've been keeping my eye on the quarterback race at Georgia. They're projecting Carson Beck to win that job right now, which I think is interesting because I think they had Gunnar Stockton there. They had some dudes there that it was just kind of like, oof, like who is going to be the guy there?
Yeah.
But, Carson Beck is projected to win that job as of right now. So we'll see how that plays out. But, our fans but he's played zero college football. And he's got to come over and he got to come in and take over, Ike, for the 2-time back-to-back defending national champions. And that's a tall order. But the coaches have to have faith in the guys that they recruited at some point. They're not looking to the portal for a quarterback. The back-to-back defending national champions are not looking to the portal for a quarterback. So to answer your question, at some point, some people have to be okay with what they don't know or what they haven't seen.
Yeah, and I just don't know that Auburn, like the rhetoric around it seems to me as if Auburn fans right now are not in favor of anybody who hasn't had experience before. And I'm just like, that's a bad cycle to be in, to always be looking to the portal for your quarterback. I just don't know that that's a good place to be.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes going forward. As of this moment right now, we don't have to answer that question, but we will in some point in time in the future. P. Pass says that his comp for Thorne is Ryan Tannehill. This is interesting because Ryan Tannehill was like a wide receiver in college and all this kind of stuff. Like Thorne,
Texas A&M? Was he Tannehill? Texas
yes.
A&M? Yeah, okay.
Yes. So Ryan Tannehill, this is.
Right,
I don't know I don't know if I like this as a comp for him. I don't know. I am watching a lot of his film right now, so I will be able to answer whether or not I feel like that's an accurate comp. But if you're saying Ryan Tannehill, I'm not excited about that. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Okay.
Anthony Grant asks, is 7 wins a realistic expectation for this upcoming season?
100%, and it should be an expectation that you put on a $6 million coach, right? Number one, a bowl game should be an expectation. That means 6 wins, right? 5 if the cards fall right for you in today's college football, right? But 6 wins should be the floor, as far as I'm concerned. Pay a guy $6 million, you should get 6 wins. And we went over the schedule on one of our other lives. It's one of the easiest year one schedules that Q Freeze could have wished for. It is one of the easiest year one schedules Hugh Freeze could have wished for. So he's got to go out there and get it. And then 7 wins means beating one team somebody doesn't expect you to beat. One, guys. Beat one team somebody doesn't expect you to beat. Yeah. And you get the 7 wins.
Listen, the over-under early predictions from DraftKings have Auburn at 6.5. So 7 would put you right at the over right there. Mm-hmm. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out going forward. I think 7 wins is realistic, though, as an expectation. We talked about that a little bit on the Amen Corner. You guys go check out the Amen Corner podcast that went live this morning, so you'll hear some of my thoughts on that. Anyway, James Barnett says, fellas, could the passing game be better with a better O-line, regardless of who starts?
Yeah, I think that it is very easy to argue with more time, any quarterback should be better. And, to Thorne's credit, people have said, and it's been documented, when he's on the run, maybe not the best quarterback, but if you give him time to sit in the pocket, he can carve you up at times. So, I think, it could be better. And I think that goes for not only Thorne, but for Robbie Ashford and Holden Gerner as well, too. Right. Sure. Like, give a quarterback time to sit back there and survey the field. And, guys at this level definitely will play better. So, yeah.
Yep.
I find that to be a true statement.
No disagreement there. Philip Coleman says, would y'all take 2,600 yards passing if Hunter had 1,200 yards rushing, Austin with about 800, and Batee with about 400?
Yes. Okay. So
here's my deal. 400 rushing yards and 2,600 passing yards.
Yeah. So this 2,200 passing rushing yards. But like my whole point here with this is that as long as it still take you a million pass attempts to get to that 2,600 yards, right? That 2,600 yards has to be at a lower per pass clip, right? And it's got to be that has to be an efficient 2,600 yards. That can't be we racked up a bunch of yards because we're playing from behind, in the fourth quarter, and we had to abandon the run, and all of a sudden you threw the ball like 30 times in one quarter, right? So that's what this has to be. I saw this comment earlier, and I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, how you get to 2,600 matters. That's all I'm saying. Right, regardless. And there's a causality behind how much you throw the ball and how many rushing attempts there are. So I don't even know if these rushing yards would be realistic if the pass attempts are too high in getting you to 2,600 yards. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's only so much time in the game. And they're talking about speeding up the game, right? They're talking about putting in rules that start the clock like after like a first down. I don't like what that is. A whole different conversation, but yeah.
No, I agree that it definitely matters how you get those yards. Like stat stuffing is never going to be a thing that I'm going to be looking at and saying to myself, oh, this person had these stats. It matters how you get those stats and when those stats come, how proficient you were on third downs and all those sorts of things. Those things I think are more important for me as a guy who wants to see your team win. But being able to stuff the stat sheet, not my biggest concern. So yes, it will matter how you get those yards. All right. Listen, we want to hear from you guys. We want you to talk to us about all of your expectations for Auburn football this season. In the past game, Peyton Thorne in, new wide receiver in, potentially some other wide receivers coming in. What are your expectations for us in the past game this season? Tell us down here in the comment section. But we're about to get out of here, man. We appreciate you guys dropping in with us. As always, you're listening to the Morning Drop, sponsored by Rogue Shop. At rogueshop.com, you will experience America's #1 online dispensary. They are great with their customer service, says a lot of people who we've talked to about how their experiences have been. Make sure you head over there. Tell them the folks at the War Report sent you. Use code REPORT to get a little something off of your purchase. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow morning with another morning drop. Make sure you share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all of those things. We're out of here. As always, War Eagle. Peace.